Hello everybody, it is Dylan from Yugioh Everything, and welcome back to another anime vs. manga character analysis. You guys voted over on my website as always, and you chose Pegasus, the first antagonist that we will be analyzing. And if you don't know what this segment is, I take a character from the Yu-Gi-Oh anime and from the Yu-Gi-Oh manga. I give you their backstories in both adaptations, and then I kind of compare the two, talk about their decks for a little bit as well. So it is a very fun video, which hopefully you will gain a little bit more knowledge about a character from the Yu-Gi-Oh series. The new poll on my website is up if you want to vote on that. But anyway, we are going to get right into it. So again, thank you to everyone who did vote. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you leave all your thoughts down below. Let's get right to it. So Pegasus is one of my favorite villains in Yu-Gi-Oh! And in my opinion is one of the most well-known characters in Yu-Gi-Oh! When I discuss the show with friends who have only seen a small slice of the original anime, they almost always mention Pegasus and do the Yugi Boy or Kaiba Boy impression, which, fun fact, he does that gimmick in both the Japanese dub and the English dub. Pegasus is the creator of Duel Monsters and is the president of Industrial Illusions. He wields the Millennium Eye, which allows him to read the minds of anyone he chooses. He came into contact with this powerful relic while on a journey in Egypt. He met a man named Shadi who literally shoves the Millennium Eye into his eye socket, which is actually really disturbing when you think about it. The reason he was in Egypt in the first place was because he lost his lover Cynthia, or Cecilia in the dub, to a disease at a very young age. Through the power of the eye, he was able to see Cynthia for a brief moment, which led to him becoming obsessed with the power of dark games, or shadow games in the dub. He is the very first antagonist in all of Yu-Gi-Oh! And is introduced in the second episode of Duel Monsters. He decided to host a tournament, Duelist Kingdom, after hearing about Seto Kaiba's loss to Yugi. He is able to duel Yugi through a tape he sent to him, and he actually defeats Yugi and ends up stealing his grandfather's soul. Meanwhile, he also makes an effort to buy out Kaiba Corporation and kidnaps his younger brother Mokuba in the process, and that pretty much triggers all the events for the entire opening season. It forces Kaiba to have to defeat Pegasus to save his brother, and it forces Yugi to have to defeat Pegasus in order to save his grandfather. So Pegasus hosts a tournament known as Duelist Kingdom, in which duelists have to gather 7 starships to enter the actual castle and get to the final round, so to speak. Pegasus keeps a close eye on everything that happens and tries to get his security to kidnap Kaiba, who was not in the tournament but snuck onto the island to try to save his brother. He meets Kaiba right by Mokuba's cell and takes Mokuba's soul right in front of his eyes. He tells Seto that he must defeat Yugi in a duel, otherwise Kaiba's brother is gone forever. After Kaiba is triumphant over Yugi, he takes on Pegasus with everything on the line, and this is really the first time we see Pegasus duel, and in my opinion, it's one of the more well-known duels in all of Yu-Gi-Oh! We get our first look at Pegasus's terrifying tune cards and his not OP at all Millennium Eye, which again allows him to read his opponent's minds, so all of Kaiba's strategies and cards are easily exposed. He defeats Kaiba using Kaiba's own deck destruction strategy against him. Pegasus traps Kaiba's soul into a card, and the semifinals begin. The winner of the semis is obviously Yugi, did we expect anything else, which sets up the titanic match between Yugi and Pegasus. Pegasus easily gains the upper hand as expected early in the duel, but once Yugi and his counterpart Atem or Yami Yugi start switching bodies, Pegasus's Millennium Eye powers pretty much become nullified. Honestly, this is one of my favorite duels from the original series, just an epic battle in my opinion. Pegasus eventually drags the duel into the Shadow Realm after Yugi overcomes his tune cards and makes it a Yami game. While the weaker Yugi faints, Atem carries on and is able to defeat Pegasus. Stunned that he lost, stays true to his word and releases the soul of Yugi's grandfather and the Kaiba brothers. While Pegasus retreats to his secret room, he apologizes to Cynthia, heartbroken that he's not going to be able to revive her. Not before long, Yami Bakura shows up and challenges the weakened Pegasus to a Yami game. Yami Bakura defeats him. The game was literally them shooting lasers out of their Millennium items. I don't know why either, don't ask me. And Bakura wins easily, and he forcibly rips the eye out of Pegasus's socket. Pegasus is removed from the castle in a stretcher and falls into a coma. As the creator of pretty much all of the Yu-Gi-Oh cards, he is also credited for creating the Egyptian god cards. Everyone he had hired but himself died during the process, even though that didn't deter him. A stern warning from Shadi and a horrific nightmare which showed the gods destroying an entire city scared him enough and forced him to give them to Ishizu to bury, which pretty much kind of triggers the second and third seasons. Pegasus also gave Yugi and the others the 3 dragon cards that were used in the Waking the Dragons arc in order to stop Doma or darts in the dub. Pegasus was defeated by Mai in an off-screen duel and lost his soul to the Seal of Orichalcos. He's briefly shown at the end of the show making a business deal with Siegfried, the pink-haired dude that Kaiba dueled in the beginning of Season 5. This scene was not shown in the English dub. Pegasus does show up in GX to give Chumley a job at Industrial Illusions. In the next season of GX, this guy called Franz, one of his employees, stole the Winged Dragon of Ra, or a copy of it, and Pegasus was present when Judai, or Jaden, dueled Franz and won the card back. He then took on Professor Kronos, or Crowler in the dub, and Bonaparte in a Battle Royale duel. He defeats them both with relative ease, and this is the last time we ever see Pegasus in real time make an appearance in Yu-Gi-Oh! Again. We do see him in a few flashbacks throughout the rest of GX. In one, he claims that the best 5 duelists in his mind are Yugi, Kaiba, Janucci, Edo, and Johan in that order. We can assume Pegasus has passed away by the events of 5Ds due to this poster that claims one of the sponsors of the WRGP is the Pegasus J. Crawford Memorial Foundation. So you don't have a memorial for someone unless they are passed away, so it is safe to assume that Pegasus is dead for whatever reasons during or before 5Ds takes place. Pegasus is definitely a very unique character in that he was mentioned in 3 different shows, and we can literally track his lifeline from his early teen years all the way to his death in 5Ds. He's one of my favorite villains and characters from all of Yu-Gi-Oh! And definitely had some really cool cameos and Easter eggs long after he was defeated as the main antagonist. So let's take a look at Pegasus in the manga. He is honestly extremely similar to his anime counterpart, except maybe his longevity, but let's begin. We learn a lot about Pegasus's really young childhood and when he got his love for cartoons. We also see him meet Cynthia and see her pass away, just like in the anime. Pegasus did the same as in the anime. He went to Egypt and originally wanted to buy the Millennium Ring, which, as we know, is Bakura's Millennium item. After being told off by Shadi, he follows Shadi to an underground temple where he witnesses the thief who stole the Millennium Ring getting burned alive and killed. Pegasus was found spying on everything and was brought before Shadi. The men cut out his eye, literally cut his eye out of his socket and put the Millennium Eye in the now empty socket. Pegasus passed the test and thus gains the power of the Millennium item. He immediately gains interest in acquiring Kaiba Corporation. He makes a deal with the Big Five that if he defeats Yugi, he will gain control of the company. Pegasus went ahead and organized a tournament on his island where the winner would gain $200,000. He invites pretty much the same contestants as he did in the anime, including Yugi, through the same videotape/Yami game antics he pulled in the anime. He was able to take Yugi's grandfather's soul and hold him hostage, forcing Yugi to compete. A character that played a very important role due to Pegasus is a character named Yugioh Tenma, who is a manga-exclusive character. We see Pegasus talking to him about various things right before the tournament starts, but we'll talk briefly about him more later. Pegasus decides to take Mokuba's soul since he attempted to re-escape, but besides not doing this in front of Kaiba, everything else is pretty much identical. Kaiba reaches Pegasus. Pegasus promises to duel him if he can defeat Yugi, who has already collected enough star chips to gain entry to the finals. Kaiba defeats Yugi, and the duel between Kaiba and Pegasus is almost identical to the duel in the anime. I'm not sure if everything is move for move, but it is 90% basically the same exact duel as the one in the anime. Pegasus wins easily and traps Kaiba's soul in a card. Pegasus then watches the duels between Mai and Yugi and Janucci and Bandit Keith. When he caught Keith cheating in the anime, he simply opened a trapdoor and literally flushed Keith out of the castle. However, we know the manga is a little bit darker than the anime in almost every facet. In the manga, Pegasus uses a penalty game on Keith, turning Keith's own hand into a gun, which causes him to shoot himself in the head. Not messed up at all. Pegasus then duels Yugi, and again, a very similar duel that happened in the show. The major difference is the epilogue of this duel. Instead of Pegasus retreating, he stays at the terminal and has a conversation with Yami Yugi, talking about the Millennium items, Cynthia, and how he came into contact with the Millennium Eye. Yami decides to show Pegasus mercy and not inflict a penalty game on him. However, Pegasus was not nearly out of the woods just yet. In an extremely brutal scene, Yami Bakura confronts him and rips his eye out of his socket, causing him to bleed out and die. That's right, Pegasus dies from this event, which causes his adopted son, the aforementioned Yugioh Tenma, to swear revenge on Yugi, who he wrongly thinks is the person who killed Pegasus. This leads to him trying everything to revive Pegasus, but to no avail. So, shortly after Pegasus duels Yugi, his story in the manga comes to an end, literally and figuratively. Now, there are always going to be uncanny similarities between Duel Monsters characters because the DM manga is the only manga that came before the anime, so the anime is heavily based off the manga. Pegasus wields the Millennium Eye in both, and he came into that power by traveling to Egypt after he lost Cyndia. He wants to take control of Kaiba Corporation in both adaptations and hosts a tournament in order to achieve those goals. He steals the soul of the Kaiba brothers and Yugi's grandfather before losing to Yugi and releasing everyone. He had a confrontation with Bakura after the tournament concluded, in which he lost his Millennium Eye and his ability to read minds. Their decks are also very, pretty much identical, and Toon World is a staple of the deck in the anime and in the manga. Any other similarities that I failed to mention, please let me know down below. There are actually a good amount of differences between Pegasus in the anime and in the manga, believe it or not. Sure, both personas went to Egypt after they lost Cyndia, but the way they came into contact with the Eye was a bit different in the anime. Pegasus did not witness the man being incinerated by the ring in the anime, but in the manga, he did. Another major difference is his motivation for hosting the Duelist Kingdom tournament. In the anime, he was desperately trying to do everything he could in order to revive Cyndia, while getting control of Kaiba Corporation was a minor goal he had in the anime. It was the main purpose he did everything that he did in the manga, but obviously the massive difference is the fact that he died shortly after the duel with Yugi, whereas in the anime he had many cameos throughout the rest of Duel Monsters and even in the shows to follow. Another difference is the timing of when he stole the soul of Mokuba. In the manga he does this before Kaiba reaches the island, but in the anime he does this while Kaiba is present and all three are in the same area. He is also responsible for brutally murdering Bandit Keith in the manga, while he simply removed him from his castle in the anime. The decks are almost identical between his anime counterpart and manga counterpart. Toon World and his Toon cards are definitely the staple of both decks. Thousand Eyes Restrict and Relinquished are also very powerful monster cards that he used in both the anime and manga. The strongest card in terms of attack points was the Blue Eyes Toon Dragon, which boasts a whopping 3,000 attack points. Deck profiles are always the toughest thing for me to do, and even though I have started playing Yugioh Pro a lot more recently and I am trying to get more into the OCG/TCG, it is honestly very tough to put his strategy into words on account of how the rules were so much different in the first season of Duel Monsters. Not only were the life points 2,000, but you could summon any monsters no matter their level without sacrifices. The mechanics of Toon World were so much different than their real effects, and nothing is really to blame here because the actual game of Yu-Gi-Oh was still in the creating process, but it's very difficult to give an actual solid deck profile on Pegasus for this reason. So which version of Pegasus do you prefer? Let me know down below. Personally, Pegasus is one of my favorite Duel Monsters characters and villains, period, in Yu-Gi-Oh! So for me, the more Pegasus, the better. While I think it would have been interesting had the Duel Monsters anime killed him off in Season 1, I'm kind of glad they didn't. I thoroughly enjoyed his appearances in GX and the Easter egg he had in 5Ds. I also like his main motivations a tad more in the anime than in the manga. In the manga, he just had to defeat Yugi to take over the Kaiba Corporation, while in the anime, his main motivation was to revive his childhood love Cyndia, which I personally can relate to a bit more than just kind of being greedy and doing everything to take over a corporation. I just love how he is such a calm and calculated guy, but at the same time was a truly terrifying adversary. The fact he could read minds and trap people inside cards while being an extremely charismatic and intelligent character has just always made me love Pegasus. Even though I really do prefer the Duel Monsters manga to the anime as a whole, and most characters from DM, I will pick their manga persona as my favorite, I did enjoy Pegasus in the anime more than I did in the manga. So the new poll is open to vote on the next character to be analyzed. The link is in the description. Thank you guys, as always, so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed. Please let me know down below all your thoughts on Pegasus and whether you liked him more in the anime or more in the manga. And let me know if I missed anything substantial as well. I will talk to you guys in the comment section down below. I hope you have a wonderful day.
Let's play the game. I'm sure you won't know how, but watch yourselves, my foolish friends. You're all in my world now. Face up, face down, attack or defend. Face up.